All right, so most people hear the word estrogen and instantly think of it just as a female hormone. But here's the truth. Estrogen is vital for men too. It plays a key role in heart health, brain function, libido, erectile health, and overall hormonal balance. But why is estrogen important for men? Well, here's the thing. Estrogen isn't just simply a female hormone. In men, it helps regulate cardiovascular health, supports neurological function, improves libido, even plays a role in erectile health. Without enough estrogen, men can experience low mood, poor recovery, weak erections, and even bone health issues. So then it goes to why inhibiting aromatase can be harmful. Well, some guys think blocking estrogen with aromatase inhibitors or AIs is the answer to feeling leaner or more masculine, But here's the problem. Oversuppressing estrogen can actually be neurotoxic and damage to your health. That's why balance is the key. Testosterone and estrogen need to work in harmony, not against each other. Balance is super important. Then the next question is, how estrogen and testosterone are produced? Well, endogenously speaking, let's break this down. Men produce about 3 to 10 milligrams of testosterone per day. At the same time, they produce around 30 to 50 micrograms of estradiol per day, which is by fraction in comparison. So 10 to 20% of that estradiol comes from the testes, while 8 to 9% is produced in peripheral tissue like fat, muscle, and bone. So in general, the ratio is about 10 to 1 testosterone to estradiol in terms of daily production. Then you go on to what serum concentration levels versus daily production. Well, now here's where it gets interesting. Daily production gives us about that 10 to 1 ratio. But when you look at blood work, the numbers are different units. Testosterone is measured in nanograms per deciliter. Everybody knows that, or you should know that. Estradiol is measured in picograms per milliliter. So, when you do the math, it actually comes out that estradiol is usually about, it sits around 5% of that testosterone level. So for example, if you have a total testosterone of 600 nanograms per deciliter, that's your normal level for that individual, you expect to see about 30 picograms a milliliter of estradiol in your blood work. If your testosterone is 800 nanograms, you'd see around about 40 picograms per milliliter in your estradiol. So what about high doses or the blast phase of a cycle, of your PEDs, for example? Well, men take super physiological doses of testosterone. This balance doesn't stay in the same, The aromatase enzyme doesn't just keep in the dose-dependent fraction or fashion of things of that ratio, so it starts to shift when testosterone is often led to imbalance in estrogen unless it's carefully managed. Then when you go on to tissue-selective estrogen levels, well, in blood work, it's a great proxy, but remember, it only tells part of the story. The actual estrogen activity in your bones, brain, and heart can only be measured through specialized testing or biopsies. Obviously, that's not practical for most people, so blood work remains the best, most reasonable way to keep track of your hormonal health. So, here's the takeaway. Estrogen is not the enemy. It's the essential for male health. It's very essential. The key is maintaining balance, homeostasis. So about 5% estradiol relative to testosterone on blood work, or roughly 10 to 1 ratio in terms of daily production. Suppressing estrogen too much can do more harm than good. So if you're looking at tracking your hormones, don't just look at testosterone, in isolation, that is. Make sure you're paying attention to estradiol too. Very important.